You're listening to Kizuki, the podcast. I'm Mae Yoshikawa, and I define the Japanese concept of Kizuki as the following. Kizuki. 1. A moment of epiphany, an aha of realization or insight which opens the knower to a new dimension of truth that was formerly unknown. 2. Steps in an incremental growth of awareness, resulting in a movement from ignorance to greater awareness of the bigger picture. A kind of knowing that cannot be undone, that cannot be unrealized. As a longtime yoga and meditation practitioner, a world traveler, and curious self-explorer, I'm obsessed with Kizukis. Listen on each week for inspiring and enlightening stories that may just tip you over for your next aha. On this week's episode, Affirmations, Cringy or Awesome? Do affirmations make you cringe? Or are you someone who pronounces them proudly in the mirror? I gotta tell you, I think I might have a little bit of both in me. It's that whole mixed breed, Eastern, Western, English, Japanese, but found my heart in South India thing. But I will say that I definitely started many years ago being way cringed out by that kind of stuff. And I've come a long way. And here's how I got to thinking about that this morning. I was looking at my face in the mirror, particularly my ears. My 2 ears have a total of 9 holes in them where my piercings used to be. I loved my piercings, some in like the cartilage bits and some in the earlobe, and I adored them. But a few years ago, I discovered that they were giving me headaches and vertigo, and eventually, it took me a while, but eventually I learned that my body was reacting to the nickel in the piercing stems and that I needed to take them all out. Now, my whole life I have been fine with them, so I think it was something related to just all the stress that my physical and emotional body went through post-grief after the sudden loss of my husband and all of the grief-stricken sleepless nights and whatever. But I had to take them out. So now I have these lovely ears with holes in them. Not a big deal. But I was looking at them thinking, my ears have historically always been one of my favorite parts of my body. And I remembered the time many years ago, I believe it was 2004 or 5 maybe, when my old yoga teacher, Sri K. Patabi Joyce, was doing a world tour. And he was teaching a couple weeks intensive workshops in San Francisco. And I went to San Francisco and stayed with a friend, but it was my first time, I think, in San Francisco in the Bay Area. And at the time, I was like heavy into yoga and meditation. I was eating raw organic foods and just doing a lot of detoxing and really changing my health, my body, and my life. And during my couple weeks there, my local friend said, hey, there's this cafe. It's called Cafe Gratitude. I think you'll really like it. They've got all these awesome raw organic foods and sweets and desserts, and I think you'll like it. So let's go there. So he took me there. And as I was looking at the menu, it's obvious. The whole menu is created of affirmations. Like a Buddha bowl will be called, I am beautiful. Or another dish would be called, I am wonderful, or something like that. But everything along the lines of, I am something spectacular, brilliant, awesome, wonderful. And then you can top them with other more wonderful stuff. So naturally, as the waiter comes to take your order at the table, when you say what you want to order, you basically have to say an affirmation. Now, I think I was 24 or 25 at the time, and I was having a majorly difficult time pronouncing the statement, I am beautiful, or whatever the heck it was that I wanted to order. I just wanted a goddamn salad bowl, but I had to say it. And I basically whispered it. And the waiter took our order and he gave it to the kitchen. And after a few minutes, the waiter came back to our table just to chit-chat with us. Now, that kind of thing does not happen culturally in Japan. So you have to imagine how I am now, and maybe much more so at the time, was very inexperienced with that kind of vibe. Like waiters and servers being really casual and chatty with you, like, hey, you guys, what's going on? How are you doing today? Like that kind of thing does not happen in this culture. So anyway, this particular waiter at Cafe Gratitude came back to our table, just a lovely garden setting, and he actually sat down with us in one of the chairs, and he goes, hey, if it's all right with you guys, can I ask you today, what do you love most about yourself? And I just shrank within my own skin. Like, what is this guy for real? Like, what is this, a pop quiz? And I was just so unprepared to not only say something positive about myself, but to even notice and to put attention on something affirmative about myself. And my friend said something, and another friend said something. I don't even remember what they said. But when it was finally my turn, shrunken like a helpless child, I whispered under my breath, ears. I like my ears. And the guy was like, oh, okay, yeah, you like your ears. That's really cool. Yeah, you have really great ears. But you can imagine how it was such a flushy, embarrassing moment for me. I was just so not ready for that. And all that to tell you how unaccustomed and ill-prepared I was to know how awesome I was/am. How awesome you are/was. I wonder how many of you would cringe, shrink, or find it difficult to answer if someone pop quizzed you and said, hey, tell me one thing that you find really, really awesome about yourself. And that tells us that, well, for one thing, we spend very little time and attention affirming and commending positive aspects of ourselves. And B, secondly, that also means that you're probably used to dissing yourself. You're probably used to pointing out and noticing how you're not good enough, how you're not quite there yet, how you need to work harder or do this or do that in order to be good enough. I don't know about you, but I know for a fact that that's exactly where I was back then. And that's the kind of mental and heart space where I lived for many years of my life, until meditation and yoga and all of that helped me to gain awareness around the thoughts that I was believing within myself. So not that I'm like crazy about affirmation today, but I do appreciate them. And more recently, I think it was last year, when I came across this quote by Eric Butterworth, who's an author and I think also a former minister, through another beautiful friend of mine. It helped me to understand why I can find affirmations cringy, and at the same time, why they can be so awesome and effective. Here's the quote. We do not repeat affirmations to make them true. We say them to align our consciousness with the truth. And that deserves a little bit of taking in, because I think for me, the cringy thing about affirmations is when you're repeating them to make them true for yourself because you know you're not there and you want to go and get it, like you feel like you have to earn it or something, which ironically only encourages the initial lack, the not enoughness. It's like you're bathed in a sense of lack. Therefore, you have to keep affirming and keep repeating in order to try to go get it. And so which wins, what you're saying or what you're feeling? What you're feeling is always closer to the truth, right? But this Butterworth quote reminds us that we say them to align our consciousness to the truth, meaning there is already a pre-existing truth when you say, I am beautiful. I am worthy. I know I am beautiful. I know I am worthy. It's not this external overlay of I look beautiful or I think I am worthy. It's the amness of existence that knows itself as worthy, that knows itself as beautiful. And if we use the affirmations like a compass, like a pointer, to direct our consciousness to that energy, to that vibration, I think that that's what Butterworth is saying, right? That's when the affirmation can really serve as a tool for us. So that was my big Kizuki moment. And to this day, I feel like I have one foot in each world. Like it can make me cringe or it can make me feel wonderful. But I also know now, I'm consciously aware of why it might slip into cringiness. Like if I'm kidding myself, if I'm lying to myself, or if I'm using it to direct my consciousness in an effective way. So I hope that helps. And if any of you find yourself in cringy moments about saying affirmations or saying anything positive about yourself, whether out loud or in your mind, that may be why. And I hope that Kizuki will help you to align yourself to a bigger, deeper truth this week. Thank you for listening. Learn more about me in my upcoming book, Kizuki, Realizations Beyond Time and Death, at my website, maey.live, or find me on Instagram at maeyoshiKawa.